Hey guys, it's Toby from Motorcast, and I'm thrilled to say that on the channel today we're going to be having an interview with Sam Bird, the Formula E driver and WEC driver, one of my favourite drivers for a number of years now, and I'm really honoured to be able to interview him. The interview's just coming in a second, but I'll just explain quickly before the interview that I think the first about 30 or 60 seconds are a bit muffled in terms of audio, whereas the audio quality picks up after that, so hopefully that's not too much of an inconvenience. But if you asked a question, then your question should have been answered, and if it wasn't, then you can just leave it down in the comments or use the hashtag AskSamMC, and I'm sure Sam will answer it for you. But without any further ado, here comes the interview. So then folks, I'm with Sam Bird today for the interview with Sam, and I'm going to kick off the questions straight away with just a few of my own questions. So Sam, what was the first car that you ever owned?
Oh gosh, the first car I ever owned was probably handed down to me when my grandma actually passed away. I had her Mini Metro. That's what I started in.
Ah, very interesting. And well, wow. And another question: how did you, obviously first series in 2005 was Formula BMW? How did you actually get into that?
Well, I was karting in the years leading up to that, and I had a conversation with a guy called Steve Holman, who was going into, well, he's related to Trevor Carlin, and they were going to start up a team in Formula BMW. Anyway, I went for the scholarship out in Valencia. I wasn't expecting to get the scholarship. I wanted to just basically dip my foot in the water, as it were, and see what single-seaters were like. Anyway, I got the scholarship, and the rest is history, I suppose.
Oh, wow, very interesting. And obviously 2005 that started. When did you start karting, and when did your motorsport passion really start?
The motorsport passion started from a really young age. I would watch Formula One with my mum and dad and write letters to them asking them if they could take me go-karting. The first ever time in a proper go-kart was when I was 8 years old for my birthday. They took me to Silverstone. I had to go around the kart track that was there at the time at Silverstone, and if my grades were good, at the end of every term they would take me to Playscape in London. So they had a track in Clapham and Streatham, and I would go there if my grades were good and have a blast around on a Saturday morning.
Well, that was certainly a good motivation anyway, wasn't it, to do well?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and for those out there really looking to get into motorsport, what would your advice be to them?
Oh, it's a difficult sport to get into. I mean, if you obviously need a backer, you need talent, you need commitment. If you combine all of those three things, then anything is possible. You need to believe in yourself. There's going to be down times. There's going to be times that are difficult, times that will challenge you mentally, physically. If you don't let those things get you down and beat you, then you can get to where you want to be.
Ah, very interesting. And obviously, you're in your driving career. What has been the best car for you to drive? Is it the Mercedes 2010 F1 car, the Formula E cars, the GP type cars, maybe another?
I don't know. I mean, I've driven many Formula One cars now. I've driven, 1970 F1s. I've driven Damon Hill's 1996 championship-winning car with Williams. The 2007, 8, 9, 10 Williams. The Brawn car. That was pretty cool to drive that. The 2010, 11, 12, 13 Mercedes cars. So there's many to choose from. Formula One is obviously spectacular. It's got the speed. It's got the downforce. It's a complex machine. And I do enjoy driving it. However, I also love my WEC and my Formula E cars.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to choose which one is my favourite. My favourite is the one that I'm winning in.
Yeah, very, very interesting, fair enough. And a few of the other questions that other people have asked now, and we're going to go first to the Twitter handle of Jack Hopwood, which is Jack. And his question is to you, Sam. What are the challenges of having to train and prepare for two very different series in Formula E and WEC simultaneously?
Hi, Jack. For me, I find it quite straightforward to switch between the two because they're so different. Obviously, in WEC, I've got to be prepared for driving up to 4 hours at a time, sometimes at Le Mans, especially, maybe through the night. So fitness-wise, in the GT car, you do have to be extremely fit. With Formula E, it's more of a sprint race. And also the techniques that I use in the two championships are vastly different. I'm having to do a lot of saving energy in the Formula E car, whereas in the WEC Ferrari 488, it's pretty much flat out for the entire stint.
And if you don't mind, which one do you say you prefer, or don't you have a preference between Formula E and WEC?
Like I said, I like
the one you're
like
winning
one
in,
where I can stand on the top of the podium. I have to say, there's nothing better than wearing the Ferrari badge on your race suit.
Mm-hmm.
However, I thoroughly enjoy my work at DS Virgin Racing also.
Oh, very interesting. On to Jordan, who's also asked a few questions. You did actually answer one of his questions the other day, where he was on about eating dinner with any free drivers. And if you didn't see that, Sam actually answered Senna, Schumacher and Jules, I believe. And two questions that Jordan has also asked you, Sam. The first one being, what actually attracted you to Formula E in the first place?
Well, it was a championship that was growing momentum as I was doing GP2, and I was sat at home at the time asking myself, what is this Formula E? How's it growing? And so I spoke to a couple of people. I spoke to my friend Lucas de Grassi, who was, heavily involved in making it as big as what it is today. And he was just saying, look, it's going to grow. It's going to get bigger and bigger. And I'm so glad I took his advice, because he's exactly right. It's just getting bigger and bigger, and more manufacturers want to get involved, and it is the future.
And there's been a few rumours about Ferrari getting into Formula E. Would you like to drive for Ferrari in Formula E?
I really hope that Ferrari do come on board. I think that would be fantastic for the series. It would be great for Ferrari, and only time would tell if they would want me as a driver. But right now, I'm obviously committed with DS Virgin Racing, and I will continue to try and win races and gain podiums for them.
And apart from winning, obviously, what's your favourite thing about being a part of Formula E?
I think there's a great camaraderie between all the drivers. You look at that grid and you have to say, regardless of whether you're a fan of electric racing or not, but you look at the calibre of driver, and it honestly is, in my opinion, one of, if not the strongest, pound for pound in motorsport. And I enjoy racing against those people.
Yeah, and Matt asks with the Tritangle, Matt212 Gaming, he asks, what city or track would you like to race on that isn't on the calendar in Formula E currently, and why?
Well, the tracks that we come to are, they're mainly brand new tracks that we sort of make up as we go along. It's more like, what cities would I like to visit?
Yeah.
With Formula E, I think it would be great to get into San Francisco.
Oh.
I think it would be great to get into Sydney. I think it would be fantastic to get into somewhere like Sao Paulo. It's going to be incredible that we go to New York. So these kind of big cities would be superb.
And would you support the addition of new rounds and more rounds in a season to grow the series?
Yeah, I think that's the way it's going, and I think that growth in the series means more races. I would also love to see a night race. That would be a great spectacle as well.
Yeah, and as a viewer, I'd really love to see that as well. That'd be very interesting. And James asked with his handle JCKC99. He asked one of two questions. His first question is actually nearly pretty much what I asked earlier, so we won't repeat that, which is what's the best car you've driven. And then what's been your favourite racing series in your career so far, from Formula BMW to Formula E and WEC today?
I mean, I've loved WEC. I think that's a fantastic championship. I love Formula E, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time in GP2 and World Series as well. Those championships are top line series. I loved the speed and the downforce of the World Series and GP2 cars, and to be a paid professional racing driver in the WEC and Formula E is fantastic also.
Oh, interesting. And Alex and Matty both asked the same question actually. Which moment in your career, as you say from the start, do you look on with the most pride? So the proudest moment of your racing career to date?
I suppose winning back-to-back Monaco is pretty special. I won it in World Series by Renault 2012 with a race against Jules. That is probably my fondest memory in motorsport. The fact that me and him went at it, just did qualifying laps for pretty much 40 laps, and we finished like 38 seconds ahead of P3. So we were cracking on that day. Me and Jules were. But then to go back the next year and win by 25 seconds on my own was pretty special.
Yeah, I bet it was, absolutely, especially racing with Jules as well. And Brad on Facebook actually asked, where can we see Formula E being in a few years' time, generally?
Good question. With its current rate of growth, I believe it will continue to be on mainstream TV in the UK. I believe that the viewing figures on TV will continue to grow. Viewing figures trackside will continue to grow. I don't see it ever challenging Formula One because it's not supposed to. That's not the whole point of the exercise. They're supposed to be able to coexist. And I think Liberty Media understand and recognise that. The fact that they've got both in their stable now is great for us. And they can manipulate the championships how they want and grow them and grow Formula E in its own way, which is really good for us. But I only see it getting bigger and better, especially with all these manufacturers.
Yeah, and we've had a few people say that obviously in the future maybe Formula E might overtake F1. Do you agree with that or do you reject that?
I just don't have much of an opinion on that because Formula E isn't about competing against Formula One. Formula One is the pinnacle of motorsport, and so it should be. Formula E is a different route. It's its own route. It's its own form of motorsport. It's got its own set of rules, regulations, a completely different concept. What I hope for, though, is that fans just enjoy it for the pure racing that it is, for the level of excitement and entertainment that we give a fan, and enjoy it for the fact that it is 20 of the best drivers in the world and 10 of the best teams in the world competing on 10 or 11 of the greatest cities in the world.
Yeah,
so
I can absolutely agree with that. Yeah,
that's all I can say about it. I just think it's very important that fans understand that we are not here to compete and take stuff away from Formula One.
Yeah, I completely understand that. It's definitely a niche market and something that I really enjoy watching, and along with Formula One as well. And Beni, the Slovenian side, actually asked 4 questions, so we'll be quite busy here. But the first one is, obviously, you're talking about Lucas di Grassi being a big friend earlier. But do you have any other friends in the Formula E paddock or the wet paddock?
Yeah, in Formula E, there's pretty much 20 mates. It's you go racing with 20 of your good pals. It's great fun. But obviously, as soon as you put your helmet on, it's extremely serious, and there's no holds barred. It's full on. In WEC, I'm obviously very close with my teammates at Ferrari and AF Course. So Davide Rigon, my teammate, then James Collado and Alessandro Pierguidi. And it's a great camaraderie as well in WEC. Everybody seems to get on pretty well. But I tend to stick with the Ferrari lot when I get to my WEC races.
Very interesting. And do you have a favourite person to maybe race with or speak to?
I wouldn't say favourite. I'm a bit of a racing fan as well. I have a lot of respect for the people that I race with, and the people that I respect, I get along with extremely well as well. I'm fortunate enough that I sort of can match it with the big names, which is great because it's nice to be able to race hard and fair against the likes of Sebastian, against Lucas, against Jev. You've got Robin Frins, Da Costa, Duval, Sarrazin, but you look at it already. I'm naming half the grid in Formula E, but also in WEC as well. There's some great drivers that we compete against.
And do you like the mix of, obviously in Formula E, you've got your Stefan Sarrazin, who's been in racing a long time, and you've got your mix between sort of him and then Esteban Gutierrez, who's trying to kind of find his feet again in motorsport. Do you think Formula E is really good for that, for maybe people that haven't succeeded in other areas, just to find a route to succeed?
I don't want Formula E to be panned as just a sort of, and it shouldn't be described as somewhere where shelved Formula One drivers come to a bit of money. That's not what this championship is about. Yes, we've got some ex-F1 drivers, but they're very decent Formula One drivers. You look at Jev, you look at Nick Heidfeld, you look at Sebastian Buemi. they could have all won races in F1 had they have had the chance in the correct car at the right time. Jev was as quick as Ricciardo, but for whatever reasons, Ricciardo got the job. Now look at where Ricciardo is. So it's not like that at all.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Yeah, and Benny also asked, in terms of Formula One, who would you say your favourite is for the drivers and constructors title over in F1 this season?
Oh, tough. I mean, now I'm a Ferrari driver. I'm hoping that Ferrari can have a fantastic year. Obviously, Sebastian Vettel started it with a great victory out in Australia. We'll see this weekend what happens in China. I can imagine that the Mercedes will be extremely strong and Lewis will be fired up. I think I can see it being a 2-horse race this year, which is better, but a 2-horse race in 2 different colours with 2 different manufacturers, which will be more exciting for the fans, for sure.
And for all of us outside of motorsport, we'd all love to know, have you ever met Kimi Räikkönen?
I've met Kimi, yeah. Said hello, but it's literally just a hello.
Ah, very interesting. So no difference to on the TV then? No difference to that?
No, but, we all love Kimi. We love him because of that's the way he is.
Yeah, absolutely. We heard a few reports that he's a right barrel of laughs out. So, well, I'm sure he is, but I'm sure he has to get the right time to open up. But like you say, we love Kimi for who Kimi is. But in terms of growing up, Benny also asked, who was your idol growing up? Was it a racing idol or was it somebody else?
I mean, I had quite a few idols, but my main one growing up was Michael Schumacher. It's interesting, though, because Michael at the time was winning everything. He won everything. Some people perceived it as boring. I personally, I loved it. I thought he was just amazing. Some races, Ross Brawn would tell him, right, Michael, we need 30 qualifying laps in a row, and he'd go and deliver it. The guy is astounding. And then in 2010, the end of 2010, I started to work with the guy as the reserve driver for Mercedes F1. And over the next 2.5 years, we became, not only just work colleagues, but good friends. We would go out partying, we'd have skydives together. He was an all-round lovely, lovely guy. And, what has happened is tragedy. It chokes me up thinking about it. And, I hope for some good news very soon.
And would you say that Schumacher was the best F1 driver ever, or do you think it's somebody else? It's hard to tell, isn't it? But
there's no way of measuring it.
Yeah.
It's just personal opinion. Personal opinion. I could put a couple of people at the top. You'd have to say Ayrton Senna. I think you'd be wrong to not include Michael in that list because every record is his currently. So, I think that he rightly deserves a top at the spot a top spot as well.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. And finally from Benny, at the final, if it was 4 questions, what's your favourite free time activity when the weekend's all over and you can just have some time to yourself?
I like to keep fit. I like to go out on my bike. If I can play around a golf, I will. I love spending time with my partner Holly and her 2 children, Zach and Flynn. That's pretty much it.
Ah, very interesting. And on to Alex now, Alex Rushton 8, and a few bizarre questions, but I'm sure you could stay with it. So the first of 2 questions, I'll ask you the more bizarre one later, but what is your favourite film or movie of all time?
Favourite movie or film of all time? That's tough. That's really tough. There's so many good ones. Really put me on the spot now. I'm trying to think which one I actually like the most. I mean, a film that I could watch again and again is probably Gladiator.
Ah, very interesting. And, obviously, the 2 F1 films that have kind of come out the last few years, Rush and Senna. Okay, Senna was more of a documentary. Did you prefer one of those, or did you like both?
I thought they were both stunning. I thought they were both extremely good. If anything, I think Senna wins it for me if you were to put one against the other. Just the fact that it is real. I think the other one is a great storyline. It has been Hollywooded for sure to make it more aggressive than what it probably really was. But still, great movie, good fun.
And the final question now, this is going to be a bit bizarre one, so hold on to your hat. But what is your favourite out of the 2? Sausage and mash or toad in the hole?
Oh, toad in the hole.
Easily. Ah,
Yeah, every
nice.
time.
And what about sausage and mash? Do you like that or not?
I like it, but it comes second.
It comes second, right. That's a pretty concise answer then. And that pretty much concludes all of our questions today. And
Okay.
It's been a real honour to be able to speak to you, Sam, and it's been a really enjoyable experience to have you on the channel. I'm definitely sure we'll speak to you soon, and good luck in your other ventures in the next few weeks, months, or maybe even years.
Brilliant. Thanks, Toby. Take care, guys. Cheers.